Welcome back, everyone. Today we're back working on the second gen 4Runner, and we are going to get the truck ready for paint. While the body is in overall very good condition, there are a number of little dents, dings, paint chips, and creases, as well as some peeling clear coat that we need to address. So today we're going to focus just on the front fender, and what we do on the front fender here will apply to most of the other parts of the body as well. So I'm pointing out there's the actual crease in the fender, and I'm going to see if I can get a better shot here. There are a couple little dents and dings, as well as some peeling clear coat. So we're going to address those now, and I'll show you how I do that. Before I start getting into body work, I want to try to get the metal as straight as possible. So there's a couple ways to approach this, and I am doing just some simple glue pulls in the low areas of the metal to try to pull it out a bit more before we start getting into that body filler. I'm going to use some isopropyl alcohol and spray it on the residual glue on the fender to try to get that extra glue off, and then we can look at the fender and evaluate to see what kind of effect those pulls had. So what I did notice was that the glue I was using wasn't strong enough, so I changed to a different glue stick, and we're going to go ahead and do some additional pulls to try to work that metal out just a little bit further. I also did change some of the pull tabs, so that in combination with the new glue sticks, I should get a decent pull to try to get that metal out just a little bit further. At this point, I'm just looking down the side of the panel to see where those lows are to make sure I put those glue tabs in the exact correct spot. Once these pull tabs are in position, I'm going to go ahead and use that slide hammer again and see if I can get a more robust pull. And it did seem to work a little bit better. You can see here that the other tab came out a bit easier, and I was able to work the metal out just a little bit better with this combination. So on this one here, I decided that I was going to use a pull handle, and while I'm pulling out, I'm actually trying to release tension on the high metal around that little ding. After I was satisfied with the pulls, I took a body hammer and I located a few of the highs around that area, and I just try to work them down. The idea is to get the panel as flat as possible because we want to use just a minimum amount of body filler to straighten these out. I just wanted to use a DA sander. Ideally, I would have used 80 grit. I didn't have the 80 grit for the DA, so I used the 180. I ended up using actually also my cordless orbital sander, which I usually use for wood. I don't usually use that for body work, but I put 80 grit on that because this one has an 8-hole and my pneumatic tools have the 6-hole. I only had the 180 in the 6-hole. I had 80 in the 8-hole, so I ended up using that just to cut down a little bit faster so I can see exactly where the damage is. There was a little ding right here, and you can tell because I have a high spot, high spot, high spot. So I need to fill that in, and I can feel it with my fingers. It's very, very, actually there's a little low right here too. It's very minor. Over here is actually a high spot, so I have high here, and if I continue to sand, you would actually see, it's hard to see with the white, but I would end up burning through here too. So that tells me there's a high spot right there. The crease that ran along over here, which I was glue pulling earlier, a lot of it came out. So I have highs above and highs below. So the crease actually is right here. You can see it, but when I run my fingers across it, it's very, very minor. So I think I'm gonna do putty for here, and I have another dent right here. So I have all the highs. That's my little ding right here. So this is not bad as well. So I'm going to grind that down, prepare that for body filler. I'm going to grind this down, this whole area right here, prepare that for body filler. And then once I have the body work done the way I want, I'm going to end up doing a glaze or a putty across the whole area right here, block it out with the primer, and then we'll see where we're at. So this is all 80 grit. Even though the damage is only right here, still going to take it out quite a bit further so I can feather it in. Here and here. It's only a little ding here, but I'm going to feather it in to the outside. Gonna mix up some body filler, and we're gonna do one coat, sand it down, and we're gonna see where the highs and the lows are. So make sure you don't overwork your body filler. You don't want to introduce air bubbles. Depending on the weather, you want to be careful how much cream hardener you put in. It's a little warm today, so I'm not going to put as much as I would if it was cooler weather. And the same here when you mix your filler. Mix it thoroughly, but don't overwork it, and work a little bit slower on the mix. Make sure the cream hardener is completely mixed in and the color is uniform on the filler as well, or you're going to have problems with curing. You're going to have soft spots that didn't harden completely, and then it's going to cause a lot of issues down the road. You don't want to apply it too thick. In this situation, we shouldn't have to worry about that either, because the dents they're not really dents actually, they're dings, and we've worked them out with the glue pulling. So shouldn't have to use that much body filler at all on this area. A little dent here. Set up, and we'll sand it down with some 80 grit sandpaper. We're going to be using a sanding block that has some kind of flexibility to it because we have a lot of curves on the panel, and this also has a vacuum connection to take the dust in. This is by Eastwood. It's called a Contour Blocks. I have never used these before, so since I'm working in my garage, I want to try to keep the dust down, and we'll see how these work. I'll give you my honest opinion after we try this for a little bit. So these have the holes with an adhesive back. So I'll just line the holes up here. All right, and we'll connect the vacuum line. I'm going to use a small sanding block. You want to use the biggest sanding block possible for a larger area. But for the fine details, I'm going to use this block, the smaller one too. This is with 80 grit, the original sand. You can see I stopped sanding because we're starting to get some metal through here, which means this is either high or this is low. But I think if I hit it with 180 right now, we'll get a little better idea. And then you can see on these areas right here where it's texture in the body filler, those are low spots. So we may do another skim coat of the body filler here, extend it a little bit further, and then we'll sand it down. And then we should be good here. This is real close, I can feel it. And then on this side, as I'm using the long block, you can see it's feathering nicely here, and I have a little high spot here. And these areas of the texture, get a little closer, those are going to be low spots. So, and then up here it was starting to come out real nice. I do have a little bit of a high spot here. So this area is actually looking pretty good. I'll tap this down with the hammer just lightly. And then we're going to hit this with a 180 to get a better idea if there's any other high spots and low spots. And then we'll do another skim coat on this area as well. So skim coat here. That should be almost perfect for the little dings and little damage that we had. All right, so we got a lot of the body work done. Actually, we got probably about 95% of the body work done. This is the fender that we were working on earlier. And what we did here is the second coat of body filler, and it was just a light coat. And then to finish it off, we had some pinholes in some areas, and then a couple little low spots, and we did just a glazing putty. Went around the whole car, took care of some scratches, some chips, some dings, and you can see the work that was done here. I'm just starting to tape up, get ready for primer. There was a little bit of a dent here, so this is body filler. We smoothed it out with a little bit of putty on that as well. And there was nothing major on this body. There were just little things here and there, and we're getting it ready for paint. We're getting ready to prime the bodywork now, and this is going to be the first of probably 2 applications of primer. We're going to be using today the Restoration Shop primer surfacer, and there's going to be a hardener activator that goes with it. This will mix in a 4-to-1 ratio. I haven't used this primer before, but it's my understanding that it comes out quite thick. I don't need it super thick, so I'm probably going to use the Urethane Reducer and do a 4-to-1 or a 4-to-1 to maybe just a 10%. So I'm going to mix it in this cup right here. And I'm going to use disposable cups. These are made by Savito, but I think a lot of different companies make these. So it's just going to go inside there as kind of a liner. I'm going to use a cap later on. So I'm going to pour it. I'm going to use the 4-to-1. Let's see if this can focus here. I'm going to use the 4-to-1 ratio, and I'm going to go up to number 3. So it's going to be 3 on the primer, and then up to the 3 on the hardener. So that'll be 4-to-1. And then if I want to add reducer, I can go up to the 3, and that'll be a 4-to-1. So I'm going to mix the 4-to-1. We're going to mix it up. I'm going to see how it looks, and then see if I need to add a little reducer to it. All right, that's the 3. On the hardener, we'll add that to the next 3 line, which will be right here. I'm going to mix that up, and I want to see the thickness before I know if I need to add reducer or not. I can usually tell, you know, I've painted cars for a long time, and I can tell by the thickness of it if I'm going to need a little reducer. It is quite thick. I don't think I'm going to go all the way up with the reducer. I think I might add just a little bit instead of going up to that number 3 line to make it a true 4-to-1. That was a sloppy pour. I should have poured it from the side, but I'm in a sitting position, and I should have gotten up to do that, but let me mix this up. That looks pretty good. Still thick, but not super thick. I'm using a 1.7 nozzle. I'll show you the gun I'm going to use today. So on these disposable cups, they have a little top too, and there's a filter, a microfilter in the top. So that'll also filter the paint out. Snap that in. You want to pull it up to make sure it's sat down there because you don't want that coming undone. And then there's a collar that goes over the top. Make sure that's tight before I put the gun on. So this is the gun I'm using. I haven't used it yet. This is actually a low volume, low pressure. I'm used to high volume, high pressure. So it's the first time using this gun. I have it adjusted already. This is Inokraft, and it's called the Drizzle. It's quite nice, about $100 for the whole kit. And what I have right now is, let's see, I'm going to turn the fan pattern, which is the top one, all the way out. And then I'm going to turn it in just a little bit. This is the fluid. Actually, I'm going to turn the fluid or the volume in all the way. I put a little mark there. I'm going to turn it out 2 turns. That's 1. That's 2. And I'm going to do a half turn. So I'm going to do 2.5. I have the 1.7 tip in. So it comes with the 1.3, a 1.5, and 1.7. I was going to use the 1.5, but because it's a thicker primer, I'm going to see if the 1.7 works best with that. I might go down to the 1.5, but we'll see how it sprays. I'm going to start off with about 20 to 22 psi on the pressure at the gun, and we'll see how it sprays. And when you put these on, you put there's 2 prongs right here, or 2 latches, and you push it down, and then you turn it to lock it in. Thank you so much for watching today. Please support the channel and give the video a like. Also, coming up, we're going to show you how to prep this primer and get this truck ready for paint. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that. And I'm going to show you, as a DIY person, how to paint a vehicle in your own garage and what equipment you'll need to do that. Hey guys, I'll see you on the next one.